Now, we have another important element. Information is declining in quantity. Media in the last 5 years has lost 50% of circulation. There is a decline worldwide about 2.5 yearly percent of media. India, which is becoming a very large market for media, is somehow compensating. But if you exclude India and China, the decline of information is very clear. The legacy of this content of information continue to be a northern-oriented information system. Occupy Wall Street, if you make an analysis content of the material of coverage of Wall Street Occupy, we'll find out that only 7% of the coverage is positive to Wall Street. 98% is presenting it as a kind of phenomenon without any content and without any strategy or idea. When we organized the World Social Forum in Porto Alegre, and where we have about 100,000 people coming every time, we now have a coverage which is 1/50th of the coverage of Davos. Now, I grant you that Davos has much more importance in terms of economic impact and power than the World Social Forum, but fact remains that there is such unbalanced coverage of events which are all coming from the logic of the North. In my view, the Cold War, in that sense, is not finished yet. We continue to have a kind of reflection where everything which is not pro-system is perceived in the information as something which is automatically subversive or extreme. And this, there are a lot of studies which can document that. I'm not to go to them now because we are going to stay too long time. But I want to say that there is a very strange phenomenon. The decline of information is accompanying the decline of the North. And this is a very interesting phenomenon because the decline of Europe and the United States is also bringing a decline of the system of information which is now working internationally. Fact remains that the South now has no system of information any longer. If you go to, except China and a little bit India, but if you go to Brazil or you go to other important countries, Nigeria, whatever, you will find out that there is practically no public system of information left. It is not a problem. There is no policy of national communication and culture left. Culture and communication and information have become in the imaginary of politics in the South things which must be done by the market. Because if you put yourself, the state intervenes in culture, communication and information, inevitably doing censorship. This mythology is very powerful and will continue. So now what we have in the situation of this international relations in the field of information, we have again a total imbalance, not because the quantity of the imbalance is as strong as it was when we started the debate on new international information system. You have new actors, Al Jazeera, you have number of you have number of new actors which are coming up and which are rather efficient when they work. The problem is another one. The model of journalism that we're using worldwide remains the model of journalism of the West, basically the American model of journalism. Shorter sentence, less and less subjective, more and more events, less and less analysis, a mechanism which is creating an information worldwide which is resembling very much. If you have information written in Brazil with the same journalistic criteria that you write in New York, Well, you can increase the quantity of material produced in the south, but you do not reduce the imbalance. The imbalance comes from the fact that information does not touch issues which are fundamental for the south, does not touch issues like climate, like human rights, like gender, like the issue on which the South has been mobilizing itself and creating its basis for its presence in the international community over this year. So you have only to see how is the coverage of the climate debate in the last years, and you will see that there is no way that there is a clear awareness of the fact that we have been deserting engagements and deserting time of history. There is also the problem that there are elements which are not existing. For instance, cultural identity. Cultural identity is practically disappearing from information and communication. And production of intellectual services like treats and so on, for instance, do not deal with information. Information is nowhere in the debate of the international community. Now, my point is that if we could use the universal values on which we are discussing, which are, of course, the action of the South, like climate, I want to make an example, but which have become very, very important elements of awareness in the North. Now you have thousands and thousands of NGOs or other institutions which deal with climate in the North, and which are, in a sense, much, much closer intellectually in a view and vision of how governance should be done with the South than their governments. I want to say that there is today a clear transnational, international alliance of views of people who are interested in global issues. There is certainly no separation of countries on gender issues between the women of the North and the women of the South. On the issue of climate, the people who are fighting for climate are totally united, be it from North or be it from South. And so I could go on with several issues. Human rights. Human rights is a battle which is shared equally by people who are active in this issue in the North and in the South. So what I want to say, and to conclude because we have to go to lunch, it is that we have to start new alliances. In the intergovernmental system, the idea of using this globality of North-South new relations of people that are global civil society, which are becoming an extremely important actor in the global issues and on international issues, has not been used very much. I think it is time that we start to introduce in the intergovernmental agenda the issue of how to ally ourselves to advance the agenda of Global South and the point on which we are fighting for a different governance and a different world, that we start to introduce a new element, to ally with the normal constituency of this issue. This issue has constituency, and this constituency are the ones who have the, let's say, the allies that are more important for us. With one point, as this global constituency of people and organization is increasing continually year by year, this will eventually generate a market, and the market will be based on values, and therefore editors and publishers, even Murdoch, to make money, will change the media, and we start to make media which will be read by these people. Because if you make a study, you will find out that only 8% of the people who are active in internet, in this network, buy newspaper. They don't buy newspaper because they don't find what they need. They don't find information on what they are interested. and through internet they can not only get informed but also communicate. So a new world is coming up, and my point is that the world is much more solidary with the global south than the traditional north. And I think this is a perspective on which we should work. Thank you very much.